Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be consistency and self-discipline. I got an email here from a guy who says he wants to start doing more art, wants to become a successful artist, drawer, writer, those kinds of things, but he says he struggles to be consistent and to discipline himself. So he's kind of beating himself up quite a bit, and so he asked me what I would suggest as a coach that he should focus on so he can eventually reach his full potential. So I have a quote that I wrote in this topic, and I'm going to go through his email. And the quote says, "If you don't see any real progress in any area of your life that you want to improve, it's going to be really hard to experience consistent joy and happiness. In order for progress to be possible, you must first have an emotionally compelling vision for your life. This means having a purpose, mission, and a life's work that is exciting and compelling to you. Most people are chasing a non-existent quick fix for everything that they perceive to be missing from their lives. A great life worth living starts with a great vision. It usually takes most successful people a decade or more to learn, develop their skills, and find a way to synthesize and package them up into a successful career or business that compensates them proportionally to the value that they add to other people's lives. Being able to take consistent action and exercise self-discipline is only possible when you have a burning desire to achieve or become something that is compelling to you. Until you figure out what that is, you must keep seeking, searching, researching, and experiencing different things that appeal to you. When you discover your true purpose, it will light you up inside with a passion, drive, and fire like you've never experienced before." So in other words, when you find it, you will know. You will feel it in your heart. So he says, "Hello, Corey. I have some questions mainly about life, some about women. Basically, I'm dealing with a lot right now. I'm trying to become consistent with things in my life. I want to be a writer and start this art business, but I have yet to write and draw every day. Well, as a creative person, it's just like a musician that writes a song. When the inspiration strikes you, that's when you pick up your guitar or your pen or your pencil, your paintbrush, whatever, or your sculpting knives, whatever it happens to be, or your hammer and chisel, and work on something. It's not like you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to draw a masterpiece right now. When you feel inspired, write. When you feel inspired, draw, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't have to be something that you do like a fucking robot. The idea is to do something that you really love and you really enjoy. That's why a lot of musicians, they write their first few songs or first several songs or maybe their first album or two on their own when they feel inspired. And then they get their big record deal and they go into the studio and they're like, okay, Monday through Friday, we're going to crank out hits. And that's really, a lot of our musicians and artists struggle with that. Because they go in there and it's like you basically got a gun to your head. We got X amount of hours of studio time, so time is money. We got to use it up. We got to write something good. I mean, you can get in the flow. You can force yourself to do it. But as a creative person, it's much more enjoyable to write something when the inspiration strikes you. Yeah, it's like when I look through the emails to decide which ones I'm going to go through. What I do is I put a little flag next to it, and my assistant has a computer that's shared as well, so she sees which ones I highlight. Sometimes I might spend a half hour or an hour or two one day a week, and I go through them all. And sometimes I might be flipping through them when I got a few minutes. I'm like, oh, that's a great email, and I put a little flag next to that. It's just when inspiration strikes me. It's like same thing when I sit down and write the quotes and stuff that I read. Sometimes I might spend 20 minutes putting one together for a video and as much as 50 minutes on one. Like this particular quote that I read for today's, I spent 50 minutes, 50 minutes coming up with the introduction and the quote. And it's just sometimes the shit doesn't flow out of you, or like a sentence or two is like, I don't like the way that is. It's not really getting what's up here on to digital paper, if you will. But sometimes it just flows effortlessly. So it's okay. It's not about how much you do it. It's about the quality of the art or the creative process when you sit down and do it. I mean, repetition is the mother of skill. Obviously, the more you do something over and over, the better you're going to get at it. You know, achieving a big goal really is about taking a big goal and breaking it down into small daily goals. And so maybe you say, all right, well, I'm going to spend a half-hour a day drawing, or I'm going to spend a half-hour a day writing, or I'm going to spend 20 minutes a day writing. And if after 20 minutes you feel like continuing, then continue. And if after 20 minutes you're still not feeling it, then fuck it. Do it the next day. Schedule time and try it that way. He says, I want to start keeping my house clean and take care of myself daily, but it's hard. Well, unless you have a compelling reason to do that, something you're excited about and you feel like you got a burning desire to do it, you just simply won't do it. That's why when I do phone sessions with people that are trying to figure out their purpose and they think they know what it is, and I started asking them questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally compelling is it? Oh, it's about a 6. That's why you're having a hard time motivating yourself to do it. It's like you're motivated to do it because you went to a seminar and you bought a bunch of tapes and they said you can make $1 million doing day trading or whatever. You'd like to make the $1 million, that's compelling, but the actual work and the process that you have to go through to make that money, it's not appealing to you at all. That's why you don't take the time to go through the course, or that's why you drop out of school. It's like you just don't have a compelling enough reason. Because if you have a compelling enough reason, meaning on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10, 10 being you love it, you'll find a way to do it because it doesn't really feel like work. It's effortless that way. And if you're not crazy and in love with what it is you're spending your time doing, it's going to be almost impossible to motivate yourself to do it. I want to start keeping he says, how do you gain consistent, time and repetition? Take your big goals and break them down into the small daily goals. I did an article probably 3, 4, 5 years ago called The Ultimate Time Management Strategy. So if you Google Corey Wayne, The Ultimate Time Management Strategy, you'll be able to find it. He says, how do you gain self-discipline? What is really helpful is you got to think in terms of what are the painful consequences if I don't do what I know I need to do right now? What am I going to miss out on 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now if I don't do what I know I need to do right now? And then what are the positive benefits that I'm going to experience if I take the action and know and do what I know I need to do right now? How am I going to feel? How much better am I going to feel? How good am I going to feel about myself because I accomplished something? You got to think in terms of that. When you don't feel like going to work out, it's like, oh, this bed's really comfortable. I'm really tired. Oh, it's raining out. I think I'm just going to sleep in. Think, what are the consequences? I want to look good. I want to feel good. I like feeling the way I feel after I've exercised versus not exercising. And you think in terms of the pain you're going to experience and the pleasure you're going to gain if you do what you know you need to do. That's what Tony Robbins calls getting leverage upon yourself. He says, I've been attempting it for like 5 years now and I've yet to gain a leg up on the situation. Well, like a strategic planner once taught me, there's no such thing as a bad idea, only bad plans. And obviously the way that you're going about it is not working for you. So you need to synthesize. Maybe you find somebody else who's an artist or who's a writer and find out, maybe you go work for them, or maybe you just sit down and interview them and ask them a bunch of questions. What do they do? How do they motivate themselves? How do they determine when it's a good time to sit down and write and when they should just leave it alone? How do they determine when they should sit down and draw and when they should leave it alone? Find somebody who's already has the success that you want to have. Either go work for them or at least interview them. Find out what they're doing day in and day out. And then model those behaviors. Take those same actions that they're taking, and eventually you're going to get the same results. Because it sounds like mostly what you're doing is trying to reinvent the wheel. And there are plenty of people that are successful writers and successful creative people, successful artists that you can talk to, that you can emulate. Find out what they're doing, do the same things, and you'll get the same results. He says another thing is, I don't do what I say I'm going to do, or I'll do it consistently until I tell someone. There are also other problems. When I go to work, I am unprepared. I usually forget something. Well, when somebody is neglectful like that, when they don't do things, it's because they don't give a fuck. They're not really into it. And you obviously have a job that's paying the bills, but if you're an artist, you're a creative person, you're probably not that crazy about your job. So is it any wonder why you don't really pay much attention to detail? Because you don't give a fuck. It's not a priority. It's that simple. You're doing just enough to not get fired, which is how most people operate when they work for somebody else doing something they don't like. He says with women, it's more like they flirt with me up until I flirt back or pursue them. Well, again, that's why I teach not to pursue, because it doesn't fucking work. I mean, you pursue from the perspective of getting a phone number, setting a date, making a date, calling her for the first 2 or 3 weeks to make dates. But once the woman feels safe and comfortable, she's going to start reaching out to you and calling you and texting you. And at that point, your pursuit, if you will, it's over. You wait to hear from them, and when you do hear from them, you simply make the next date. He says, it's really annoying. I don't see how you can be in a relationship if you have to play this game of tag in the beginning. The one girl I'm hung up on, she discontinued contact with me. I wouldn't mind asking her to start over, but I feel it's too late. Well, it sounds like you've already pestered her enough and taken too much action to the point where she completely got turned off. That tells me you need to read the book. You obviously haven't read it yet. Because the strategy that you're employing in your personal life, it's not working for you, dude. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. So you need to change your fucking approach. It's not working for you. And another thing is you're hung up on one girl, so you got no other options. You're wanting reality to be other than it is, and therefore you're suffering. In other words, you want this girl to want you and to like you and want to spend time with you, but she won't talk to you. She just blows you off. So there's no point in contacting her anymore because you either blew it or she just wasn't interested. And that's why you got to keep circulating. But if you don't believe that you deserve to have what you want, you won't bother reading my book. Like I talked to a guy yesterday. He's been following my work for 6 months. He still hasn't read my book. And so during the phone session, he's giving me excuses like this. Oh, I'm hung up on this one girl. It's just this one girl I have no control over. I can't help myself. It's not that you can't help yourself or you have no control. You're choosing not to exercise control. You're choosing not to read my book because you have so convinced yourself that you don't deserve to have somebody that you want. You're continually trying to force things with somebody who's blowing you off. If you're happy with that, then keep doing what you're doing. And I point those things out. I point out where their behavior is flawed. I point out their limiting belief system and how it's affecting their actions. And how it's also causing them to not take the actions that they really need to take. Because once you're aware of it, once you realize what you're doing specifically to sabotage yourself, and that's what my book will help you do, it'll help you learn which behaviors and which actions you're taking that are actually getting in the way of you becoming successful. With friends, and you see this pattern in his life here. With friends, they used to want to hang out, but most recently they're all busy. I only have one real friend to hang out with now, and sometimes he cancels on me. Sounds like you need to make some new friends, but what happens? You continue trying to hang out with these people that don't want to hang out with you, just like you keep trying to date a girl who doesn't want to date you. Again, your belief is you're not good enough, you don't deserve to have what you want, so you continually force yourself into interactions with people who, quite frankly, just don't want you around. So you're acting consistently with how you view yourself to be, even though your belief about yourself is totally inaccurate. And that's the thing. You convince yourself you don't deserve to have what you want, you continue to interact with other people that are congruent with that belief. And then you go, I don't understand why nobody wants to hang out with me. I don't understand why nobody wants to date me. Well, it's the same people that keep rejecting you, and yet you keep coming back for more. Your belief is getting in the way of you changing your approach. But the reality is your actions are totally consistent with your belief about yourself. Therefore, if you really want to have somebody in your life, if your actions were consistent with you feeling like you deserve to have what you want, you'd never call that chick again who ignores you. You would never call these friends again who are always too busy. You'd be meeting new people. You'd be putting yourself in social situations where you can make new friends and continue to circulate until you find enough like-minded people who want to hang out with you, who want you in their lives. And that's what you're ignoring. You're ignoring the fact that most of the people in your life are not reciprocating interest. He says, in conversations, I'm really awkward, or I stay in the realm of, hello, how was your week? Oh, it was fine. Ask the kind of questions, be sincerely interested in other people. Ask the kind of questions that they would enjoy answering. hang out with people that you don't know that maybe fascinate you or that are interesting to you. Maybe go hang out with other artists. Find out what other, especially successful artists. Find out what they're doing to be consistently successful. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. Everybody. And therefore, if you go from the perspective of, hey, you know what, I'm a struggling artist and writer, and I sometimes have a hard time motivating myself to draw or to write. How do you go about it? How do you go about, what's your best advice? What do you do to motivate yourself? What do you do to consistently work on your craft and become better at it? People love to brag about themselves, and they'll talk your ear off. They'll be glad that you started asking those kinds of questions. So it sounds like you're hanging out with boring people that you're not really that interested in or fascinated by anyways. If the most interesting thing that you can come up with is, hello, how was your week? Oh, it was fine. That's fucking boring. I would like to have a conversation with all people, not just women. Well, read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Read my book and apply it. Start putting yourself in social situations with the kind of people that you don't normally hang out with. People whose goals and whose values are more aligned with your own. Because it's like you're trying to force these people that are in your life presently to conform to the way you want them to be, but you're ignoring the reality that, quite frankly, they just don't want to be there. Another thing is, I don't get this whole being mysterious thing. I just don't get it. I don't understand the concept of being mysterious. Again, read the fucking book, dude. Seriously. You can't learn everything that I teach in my book by watching a few videos here and there. These videos are based on the premise that you already know the baseline knowledge that's in the book. And me going through these emails is helping you implement what's in the book. How what's in the book or what's taught in the book applies in a real world example. But since you haven't read it, you're going, how do you be mysterious? Read the fucking book. I mean, how do you go? It's like waiting. You meet a girl, you make a date, and then you don't chit-chat on the phone. That's being mysterious because she's wondering what you're doing. Most guys are chit-chatting, texting constantly because they think that's what they got to do to make the girl like them. That's helping you be mysterious. Letting the other person do most of the talking and you do very little of it because you're the one asking the questions. That helps you be mysterious. But again, if you read the book, you would learn things like that. You got to participate in your own rescue, dude. And if you're not interested in reading the book, then you might as well unsubscribe and go somewhere else because I can't help you. Because you're just simply not willing to do anything to help yourself. Also, how does being funny make you mysterious? I don't know where you got that from. What if you don't want to be funny? Then be miserable. Whatever. Being funny, it's treating a girl like a bratty little sister. I mean, if you got friends, every once in a while, I would think, if you're a normal human being, that you bust each other's balls every once in a while. Teasing, being playful. We tease each other when we care about other people. But when your life is full of people that you really don't care about and who don't really care about you, it doesn't sound like you have a lot of humor in your life and you're doing a lot of laughing. Again, another reason to change your peer group. Because the quality of your life is going to be in direct proportion to the quality of the people who you consistently spend your time with. And you're obviously not hanging out with the right people at all. It sounds like you need to completely change the group of people that you're hanging out with and interacting with. What if you just want to get to know people and have them get to know you or just have a good time? Again, hang out with people who reciprocate interest. Meaning when you ask them questions about who they are and what they're all about and what they're interested in, if they reciprocate that interest, those are the kind of people that you want to hang out with. If they never ask you anything about yourself, well, guess what? It means they're not interested in hanging out. But again, if you read the book, you would know that because that's what it teaches. Aren't there other ways of having a good time without being ambiguous, funny, or treating people the way you describe? Again, read the fucking book, dude. Also, my life revolves around the things you mention not to talk to women about. Religion. All of my free time for the past 10 years has been spent in church with church friends or church functions. The only thing I know outside of church is about the books I read, which my current boss and I talk about. Even though he likes different fantasy books than myself, we usually talk about fantasy books because we both enjoy them. Again, if you're hanging out with the same group of people in church and the only book that you guys study is the Bible, and I know there's hardcore religious people, there'll probably be a few comments that people post on my YouTube channel, and my assistant let them block them going, the Bible is the only book that you need. Ridiculous. Expand your fucking mind. Don't believe anything that I tell you or anybody else tells you. Go explore it for yourself. Go apply the things that I teach, and you'll see that it works for yourself. You're obviously hanging out with people that don't share the same goals and values as you are, and therefore you need to be hanging out with other people. And if you don't want to do it, well, then don't bitch about the fact that your life doesn't change and it's the same shit over and over. There's this other woman, I think she likes me, and she keeps coming to visit me during our time at work. I'm a cashier, so it's kind of hard to distinguish if she likes me or not. Anyway, she visits every day, and I'm getting used to her company, and I started visiting her every day until I asked her to give me a ride home since I have no car. She said she would like to give me a ride, then left me. Look at her actions. Does that sound like she really likes you? She blew you off. She said she's going to give you a ride, then she blows you off? I'm so angry with her, I avoided her the next day. She didn't come to me until my shift was over and apologized. That's where the story ends. We won't have contact again until Monday when we return to work. I'm honestly thinking of asking her for another shift. I wouldn't change your work schedule just because you're trying to avoid this girl. It's like, if you see her, wave to her and go about your business. But you got to understand, she's proven to you that she has zero interest in you. Therefore, you're never going to ask her out again. If she comes over, you'll be friendly, but then go about your business. You got to continue to circulate when you don't have like-minded people who want to hang out. But you got to hang out with more than the same people at your church every day, because you need to expand your mind. You need to expand your horizons, because it sounds like the people in your life are fucking stagnant. Your life is stagnant. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to continue to get what you've always got. And obviously, you're not happy with those results that you're getting, because if you were happy with the results you were getting, you wouldn't reach out to me in the first place. That's definitely something to think about. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.